I think many of you watching this video are probably keenly aware that Valve is trying to make Steam machines a thing again, a little box that runs Steam OS and you play all of your Steam games through your television. You plug it into your TV like it's a normal game console, but it's more like a standard PC. Now, unfortunately, with that device, the release date keeps getting pushed further and further away. The price is probably going to be a lot higher than people would want it to be, and the hardware is a lot nicer than the device we're talking about today. But it kind of got me thinking, instead of spending whatever that's going to be, could you find a mini PC that's able to kind of get the job done for the most part? And to try to answer that question, we're looking at this mini PC from CameraY. This is the CameraY mini PC, AMD Ryzen 7 7735HS. That is the important bit there because that processor with that GPU should be able to do a decent amount of gaming. Now, mine does have 24 gigs of RAM. This listing says 16. I've sent an email. If I get an answer to why that is, I'll let you know in the and maybe like a pinned comment or something like that. But the processor is the same, and that's really what's going to kind of do most of the heavy lifting. 512 gigs of storage, that is what mine indeed does have. And yeah, price is $379. That seems relatively reasonable. So now that we know what we're looking at, let's look at it. So here is the mini PC itself, and as you can tell, it is very, very small. Like there's a phone next to it. This is a very, very small device. You can see there that it is the Ryzen 7000 series, Radeon graphics. More specifically, like I should have already mentioned, the Ryzen 7 7735HS, which I think should give us pretty reasonably good performance, particularly in some games. On the back of the device, we do have 4 USB ports. We have an Ethernet port, DisplayPort, and HDMI. There's the little barrel port for power. Around the front, 2 more USB ports. We have a USB-C and an audio jack. So, I think pretty decent in terms of the port selection for a device that is this small. Now, there are some screws on the bottom underneath these feet, so theoretically you could crack into this thing and maybe there's a way to add additional storage or perhaps additional RAM if you had some stashed away before the RAM apocalypse hit. But I think for most people, if you want to expand your storage, you're probably going to be using some of these mini USB ports. That's going to be your easiest route. So once the installation is completed, what you get is a pretty standard Windows 11 installation. Installation was pretty basic, other than the fact that it did default to a local account. It did not ask me to actually sign in to my Microsoft account, which I would guess some of you are probably actually going to like that. But you can see just kind of moving around the device. Things are pretty snappy. It seems pretty responsive. I should be showing you sort of a slightly sped up maybe version of the reboot process, just so you can see how quickly this thing actually does reboot. And like I said, it does feel pretty decent, and this is on a 4K television in case you care or that matters to you. As you can see here, we do have just shy of 500 gigabytes of storage to use. I've already used quite a bit. I've got only 187 gigabytes of free space. That's because I've installed some games that we're going to be testing and looking at here in just a moment. But we do need to look and see how fast this storage actually is. We're going to use Crystal Diskmark to run some quick tests, and we'll see what kind of speed we actually get. All right, now that test is done, guys, I am really quite pleased with this. I mean, compared to some of the other mini PCs I have reviewed from Ace, CameraY, these other sub-brands, this is a massive, massive step up. This is a very, very respectable set of scores. If you don't basically know what this means, all you really need to know is the hard drive is not one of these things that's going to be slow and is going to like kind of hold you back. This is going to result in a pretty snappy and responsive device, which is kind of, what I've been experiencing. Very, very solid scores. Just to give you a general idea, we're going to fire up Vivaldi, which is the browser I use. It's based on Chrome, so you can kind of get an idea of like how quickly this thing is going to be able to fire up a web browser and then just kind of jump around to some different websites. We will do youtube.com and we'll see what we have going on here. Loading straight in. We'll jump into a live weather broadcast here. And I mean, yeah, like no issues at all, just sort of browsing the web, doing basic things like that. But what I want to do now is I want to jump into a little bit of gaming. We'll load up Steam here real quick and see what this thing can do, because I'm really curious to see exactly how well this 7735HS is able to handle some gaming. We're going to try to push its limits a little bit here. All right, so you should be able to see top left 104, 109 FPS. And you should be able to see here that most things are turned on and looking pretty good. We'll do FXAA high, but everything else is turned on and set to high quality. And we're still getting 100 FPS. And okay, we've dropped down to 70, 90, but still running pretty good. And I'm not really feeling any issues at all with the performance. This is something I would absolutely be able to play and be perfectly happy with, even using my Bluetooth controller. There's going to be a little bit more latency, their input latency, than I would normally like to see. But man, Rocket League pretty much maxed out, and we're getting over 100 FPS. With some of the other mini PCs that I have tested, this is just not possible. This is a different level of gaming compared to the mini PCs that I have tested in the past. This will be like a very similar experience to, you know, me sitting down and playing this game on my PlayStation back in the day when I was more of a console gamer. This feels very, very familiar to me. I did not flip, and I missed my opportunity for another goal. So here we are in Overwatch. We are in the shooting range, and I have had to tweak the settings a little bit, but we're holding pretty steady at that 60 FPS mark. Now, look, if you are in an actual match with lots of explosions and things going on that would, you know, tax the system a little bit more, yeah, you're probably going to see those frames drop below 60 FPS. But in a pinch, if you really needed to play this game on this mini PC, I think you absolutely could. You could jump into these settings and tweak things a little bit further, maybe turn that dynamic render scale on, maybe go down here and set the frame rate from automatic to, you know, lock it at 30. You know, a stable 30 is going to be better than an inconsistent 60. But even here on medium settings, we're getting 60 FPS. Like, this will be totally playable. I'm not a controller user, so it's a little bit less playable for me, just because I'm trying to play with the controller. But I think Overwatch is definitely doable, and a lot of these esports titles, like Rocket League, like Overwatch, are going to be pretty good here. So here we are in Battlefield 6. Now, I want to very quickly just preface this again. I am not a controller user. This is going to be absolutely horrific. But I do want to at least load into an actual map and show you what this thing is doing. Pretty much every setting is on low. We're not running at 1080p. It was like 990. So, you know, you are making compromises to get this to work. But if you look at the top left-hand corner, just kind of pay attention to that, and we'll see what kind of frame rate we're actually going to get. I think I should probably just be a recon class and just maybe just hide, maybe just be sort of far away, so that I'm not just dying over and over. I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at right now. Whatever, we will spawn at A, and as you can see, we are getting 30-ish frames per second. This is absolutely playable. Is it as good as running it, you know, at 120 FPS maxed out settings on your gaming PC? No, of course not, but if you really needed to play Battlefield 6, you're going to be able to play Battlefield 6 on this little mini PC, which I mean, really has surprised me. Can I kill a guy? There's no way. You know, I'm realizing not only am I not a controller user, I typically have audio as well, and that is putting me at quite the disadvantage in this game. Oh, you should feel terrible. You should feel so bad. Something else that definitely should be mentioned is Steam Big Picture mode. Like, this works so well on a TV. This is why this exists. It basically does turn this kind of into a Steam machine that you can still install the Epic Game Store and have a bit more flexibility with. I mean, this just works great. I think like a lot of things in life, this is about keeping things in perspective, right? This is not going to be like some super gaming powerhouse. I mean, looking at this thing again, $379, okay, like you're going to get what you pay for to some degree. But if you know what you're getting, let me give you a perfect example. The other day we were looking, me and my wife were looking at Steam, looking at things that were on sale, and the Arkham trilogy was on sale for like $9 for all three. I'd never played those games before. My wife absolutely loved them, and she said, you need to get this game, this trilogy, and try playing through it. So you know what I've been doing? I've been playing it on this mini PC. That TV you were just seeing is right over there, and so I can just be working here, and I can grab my controller and turn and play a little bit, and then go back to work, and that's working quite well. Granted, the original Arkham game was kind of a bit of a trouble to get working. The audio, for some reason, didn't. Apparently, it's a common issue. It's not this computer's problem. It's a common issue. It's an old game. I digress. That's working just fine. Being able to kind of just sit here and work and then turn and play a game like it's a game console. There are a ton of games that will run quite well on this thing. Sort of like older games. You have a bunch of indie games like that Steam Machine video showed playing Cuphead. Yeah, Cuphead would play just fine. There's tons of indie games I have that are going to run just fine on this thing. Emulation would be good as well. Load it up with some ROMs. Put some ROMs on a flash drive, plug it in with the USB ports, and you've got something that could run pretty much every game console imaginable. And for $379, if you've already got a decent Steam library and you don't want to wait for the Steam machine, you don't think it's worth it, maybe the games you play aren't super duper high end, I think that this thing makes a lot of sense. I've actually been using it kind of as like a media center as well. Instead of my Android TV box, I've just had it up with YouTube, and I've got my wireless mouse, trackpad and keyboard, this Logitech thing I've had for about 15 years, it feels like, and I can just kind of turn and have a video playing while I'm doing something over here, and it's working great as a media center as well. The only real issue that I've had is that despite the fact that my settings weren't set this way, for some reason it was just kind of shutting off after being idle for a while rather than going to sleep. Not really sure what was causing that. Went through the settings, couldn't find a solution there. However, I'm running a Hightail server off of that mini PC as well, so I have disabled sleep altogether. It just kind of, the screen turns off, which is just my television, so that has solved that problem for me. Maybe that's something to kind of keep in mind. I'm sure it's something that's fixable, but that's really been the only issue that I have had, and yes, the Hightail server is running absolutely just fine, which is very, very cool. I do want to say thanks to CameraY for sending this mini PC out for me to review. As with all of my reviews, no money has exchanged hands for the production of this video, and they are seeing this video at the exact same time as you are. These are my honest thoughts and opinions. If you want to buy this mini PC, I will put an affiliate link into the description down below. If you click on that link and then you make a purchase, I will earn commission off of that, and it's a great free way to help support the channel. Free in that if you were going to buy the PC, it doesn't cost you anything extra. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.